So let's proceed to the World War. What is World War? Conventionally, the term is reserved for two major international conflicts that occurred during the first half of 20th century. World War I, 1914 to 1918, World War II, 1939 to 1945. Although historians have also described other global conflicts as world wars such as the Cold War and the War on Terror. So what exactly are the different world wars? World War I, July 28, 1914 to November 11, 1918. World War I, or the First World War, often abbreviated as WWI, was one of the deadliest global conflicts in history. It was fought between two coalitions, the Allies and the Central Powers. Fighting occurred throughout Europe, the Middle East, Africa, the Pacific, and the parts of Asia. 5 causes of World War I. Mutual Defenses Alliance. Over time, countries throughout Europe made mutual defense agreements that would pull them into battle. These treaties mean that if one country was attacked, allied countries were bound to defend them. Imperialism is when a country increases their power and wealth by bringing additional territories under their control. Before World War I, Africa and parts of Asia were points of contention among the European countries. Militarism. As the world entered the 20th century, an arms race had begun. By 1914, Germany had the greatest increase in the military buildup. Great Britain and Germany both greatly increased their navies in this time period. Nationalism. Much of the origin of the war was based on the desire of the Slavic people in Bosnia and Herzegovina to no longer be part of Austria Hungary but instead be part of Serbia. In this way, nationalism led directly to the war. Immediate cause: assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand. The immediate cause of World War I that made the aforementioned items come into play: alliance, imperialism, militarism, nationalism, was the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary. The immediate cause of World War I that made the aforementioned items come into play was the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary in June 1914. A Serbian nationalist terrorist group called the Black Hand set groups to assassinate the Archduke. Outcome of World War I. The First World War destroyed empires, created numerous new nation-states, encouraged independence movements in Europe colonies, forced the United States to become a world power led directly to Soviet communism and the rise of Hitler. What was World War II? Let's proceed to World War II. World War II, or the Second World War, often abbreviated as WW2, was a global conflict that lasted from 1939 to 1945. The vast majority of the world countries, including all of the great powers, fought as part of two opposing military alliances, the Allies. The Allies is led by the Soviet Union, United States, United Kingdom, and China. And the Axis. Axis led by Germany, Japan, and Italy. Many participants threw their economic, industrial, and scientific capabilities behind this total war, blurring the distinction between civilian and military resources. Aircraft played a major role, enabling the strategic bombing of population centers and the delivery of the only two nuclear weapons ever used in war. Largest war in human history, World War II, was a global war that spanned from 1939 to 1945. The war pitted the Allies and the Axis power in the deadliest war in history, and was responsible for the deaths of 70 million people. Involved countries, colonies, and territories around the entire world. World War II, also called the Second World War, was a global conflict during the years 1939 to 1945. The principal combatants were the Axis powers, Germany, Italy, and Japan, and the Allies, France, Great Britain, and the United States, the Soviet Union, and to a lesser extent China. By the end of over 70 million were dead. World War II was by far the deadliest conflict in human history. It resulted into 70 to 85 million fatalities, mostly among civilians. Tens of millions died due to genocides, including the Holocaust, starvation, massacre, and disease in the wake of the Axis defeat. Germany and Japan were occupied, and war crimes tribunals were conducted against German and Japanese leaders. It lasted from 1939 to 1945. Though related conflicts began earlier, it involves the vast majority of the world's nations, including all of the great powers, eventually forming two opposing military alliances, the Allies and the Axis. According to Wiki, the causes of World War II are debated, but contributing factors included the Second Italo-Ethiopian War, Spanish Civil War, Second Sino-Japanese War, Soviet-Japanese border conflicts, the rise of fascism in Europe, and European tensions in the aftermath of World War I. Four major outcomes in the end of World War II is decentralization, demilitarization, denazification, democratization of Germany, the division of Germany and Berlin, and Austria and Vienna into the four occupation zones outlined at Yalta. Cold War. Let's proceed to the Cold War. What is Cold War? The Cold War is a term commonly used to refer to a period of geopolitical tension between the United States and the Soviet Union and their respective allies. The term Cold War was used because there was no large-scale fighting directly between the superpowers, but they each supported opposing sides in major regional conflicts known as proxy wars. The conflict was based on the ideological and geopolitical struggle for global influence by these two superpowers following their temporary alliance and victory against Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan in 1945. About War on Terror. According to Wiki, the War on Terror, officially the Global War on Terrorism, is a global counter-terrorism military campaign initiated by the United States following the September 11 attacks, and is also the most recent global conflicts. The main targets of the campaign were militant Islamist and Salafi jihadist armed organizations such as Al-Qaeda, the Islamic States, and their international affiliates. The War on Terror was officially declared on May 2010 and again in May 2013. Effects of war also include mass destruction of cities and have long-lasting effects on a country's economy. Armed conflicts has important indirect negative consequences on infrastructure, public health provision, and social order. These indirect consequences are often overlooked and unappreciated.